you guys? You okay? Good? Yes, thank you for joining us on your Saturday afternoon. This is AccessAllAreas Seminars. My name is Anna Marie Descartes. I'll be your moderator this afternoon with our incredible panel. And our topic today is state of emergency. I need some dramatic lights and background music for that. But we are having an in-depth conversation about the ins and outs of the industry. Of course, we're in a financial crisis right now. That's the topic that I guess we're all experiencing right now. And we just want to discuss how it affects us. But before we get into it, I just want to do a little pop quiz. Can anyone guess how much the UK live music industry is worth? To give you a little clue, it's over £1 million. So we can start there. Shout some numbers out at me. 50 million?
75.
75 million.
60.
60 million. Higher.
8 billion.
8 billion. Too high. I let you know it is. Oh yeah, you definitely won. You're the closest. It's 4.5 billion. The UK live music industry is worth 4.5 billion pounds. So it's a very lucrative industry, and it employs over 200,000 people. And of course, we went into lockdown. We didn't have live events. We didn't have live music anymore. So it took a toll on us, and that's why we're here today to discuss. But let me introduce you to our panelists. To my left, we have Lloyd Life, who is a promoter and a DJ. Can we make some noise for Lloyd, everybody? Then we have a Treble T from Rampage. Make some noise for Treble, everybody. Next, we have Adam Holness, who's the head of contemporary music at South Bank Centre. Make some noise. And then we have Janelle Fraser, who's a tour manager at Tour Music Live. She's an A&R exec at Stellar Song Publishing. Make some noise for Janelle. We do have another lady joining us. She will be with us in just a moment, so we'll just let her on at the end when she gets here. There will be time for questions at the end. We will have 15 minutes. So if you think of anything, just put it in your notes, and I will be sure to get to you a little bit later on. Cool, panelists. I'm going to go down. Just tell the people about yourself, what you do, and your experience. This is your time to big yourself up, okay? Because if they don't know who you are, let them know who you are. We'll start with you, Trouble.
My name's DJ Lloyd Life. I've been in the music industry close to 32 years now. Started off with a thing called a gyro check, which is something I used to go to the government, and I started off doing 3 events at one time, and I couldn't give out the leaflets at one time, so I put them in a plastic bag, and I was outside a club, and someone said to me, "Mate, you're everywhere. I want you to promote my event." Long and short of it, before I knew it, I had 10 flyers in a bag, and I was making 500 quid a week to put on my own parties. So that was the beginning of where I am. Now I'm running festivals and club nights, and looking to take it to a bigger scale right now.
Great. Yeah, we can make some noise of that. Treble T.
Hi everyone, my name's Treble T from Rampage. I've been in the music biz about 35 or 36 years.
Wow.
I first started DJing when I was about 14 in school, doing friends' parties and all that kind of stuff. We started our own sound system and got on the circuit quite early. So I bumped into quite a few notable DJs when I was young. And as I was on the circuit and doing quite well, I bumped into the guys from Rampage who had just signed a record deal. They didn't have a studio, didn't have any kind of facilities, but I did, because my lifelong ambition was to have a top 5 record. So we went studio, recording the whole album for A&M Records, and I joined Rampage way back in the day. And since then, we've been doing live events, promotions, club stuff, producing records, remixes, just everything you can do as someone in the music business. And of course, not in Il Carnival. Some of the things I forget is I've toured with every single artist that you've heard of, except for 3. The only people I haven't toured with is Drake, Nicki Minaj, and Lil Wayne. But if you name someone, I've toured with them, guaranteed. We've done live events for them. Like I said, we've done loads of remixes. My last remix was Leona Lewis and Neo's Christmas single. So it's always good to be in live events, but what we'll come to later that I always discuss is diversification and how to make sure you can survive in the music business if your live event goes arse up. And that's kind of like what I do.
Yes, make some noise.
Hello, my name is Adem. So I'm the head of contemporary music at the South Bank Centre. The South Bank Centre is the biggest art centre in Europe. It's on the South Bank, on the south side of River Thames, opposite Houses of Parliament and the London Eye. And my job there is to put on gigs and parties and concerts across 3 different venues on the South Bank. That's me.
Okay. And then I know you've done so much more than that, but we'll get into it a little bit later.
Hi, I'm Janelle. I am a tour manager, and I'm also an A&R at a publishing company. I got into the music industry. I was doing an internship. I was literally working for £5 a day, travel expenses, and I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something with the music. And within events, what you don't realise is you actually do so many different job roles in the music industry to just put on an event. You kind of get to see what bits you like and what bits you thrive at and are better at than other areas. So I started doing a live music night called I Love Live, and I ran that for 5 years. And what at the time I didn't realise, but I was choosing the acts that we would showcase. And in a way, I didn't see it then, but when I got headhunted for my publishing job, because I was like, I've got no A&R experience. And they were like, well, you've been putting on these events and you've been choosing the acts, that is A&R in. So I was like, oh, okay. And then, so that was how I kind of went from the live music to the pub side of stuff. And with the tour management stuff, very similar to live music. So that's where I had all that experience from. We work with probably some of the biggest artists in the UK at the moment, and slowly but surely building an international roster of artists as well.
Great. Round of applause. What's your name?
Hi guys, sorry to interrupt. We have.
Could you join us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, we have our other panelists here in the building, so we just want to bring her to the stage.
Yes, Cara, come and join us.
Thank you.
This is Cara Harris, who's a promoter at AEG. She's also a DJ presenter at No Signal Radio. You can tell us about yourself.
Oh, okay.
Just throw me right into it. Yeah,
no problem. I guess my journey is like a little bit of a long one, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to work in music, but I wasn't really sure where and how and what job and what career or whatever it is. And then I started working at a radio station that we're not going to say their names because they're cancelled for rightful reasons. And that was kind of my first job in music. And then I went to DICE, which is obviously the ticket agent, and I don't know, that was like my first like proper paid job in music, and it wasn't really what I wanted it to be. I don't know if anyone in the room can relate, but sometimes when you go into these workplaces with so much enthusiasm and like optimism about what your life is going to look like and what your job is going to entail, and it's not that, it's very heartbreaking. But at the same time, I think it gave me a lot of like strength to then go on to do what I do now, and it actually led me into kind of what I want to do now, and knowing that I wanted to be a promoter. So I did a marketing job at Village Underground, again, just as a way to just try and get into being a promoter or being a programmer. I hated it. So sorry to Village Underground, because I do love the place, but I really didn't like the job because it's frustrating when you know what you want to do and you're just not doing it. And then the pandemic happened and I was just out of a job and I didn't know what to do. And I think that's the part that really like changed my life in the sense of showed me that community is really important, because I started working on No Signal events and recess events, and I was kind of like, I was friends with Jojo and then David for a while, and Jojo kind of saw a tweet from me and was like, oh, do you want to come and help? And I was like, oh, okay, that would be great, because I wasn't really doing anything at that point because live music had just completely stopped. And that was the opportunity that kind of led me into being a promoter. I got headhunted by the head of festivals, or the head booker of festivals at Golden Voice, who books for All Points East and British Summertime. And then, I've been a promoter for a year and a couple months, and it's been a crazy journey. It's been really intense, but also like really rewarding. I think my favorite part about being a promoter is that like, when you're in the room and you see 1,000 or even 100 people just enjoying an event that you helped put on, is really rewarding. And I think that's my favorite part of the job. And obviously I get to kind of work with artists that I'm really passionate about. So I work on Flow, I work on Omar Apollo. I'm like pitching on a bunch of stuff that my mum and me would be really like excited to go to. Do you know what I mean? Like some old, I don't want to say old, but like some classic R&B shit. So I don't know if I can swear, but you know what I mean? So it's nice that you're able to put on things that you want to see or your family want to see, and it kind of helps your family understand what you do more as well. Because I'm like, hey mum, do you want tickets to, I think Adam said he helped my mum get tickets for Erykah Badu, that was like a life-changing moment for me, because my mum was like, oh my gosh, this is what your job entails? You can get me tickets for things? And I was like, yeah. But that's kind of me in a nutshell. I do radio as well. Like, I guess that's a part of the story. I've been doing like an R&B show for about 10 years now. I started it on a uni radio station, dropped out of uni that same year. Yes, it just wasn't for me. But at the same time, it gave me Kick Back with Cara, which has allowed me to interview people like Amalou and Craig David and Ambre and people like that, and has kind of always given me a reason to consistently and continuously listen to new music. And I think even being a promoter, it's really important to be on your A&R, like always be listening to music and finding who's up next, because you always got to be first to things, because if you think you know about something, someone else probably knows too, so you got to like beat them to the punch. But I think that's it about me.
Listen to Cara. That was great. I love that. You just gave us everything, and I love that. Big energy. Okay, so our topic today is state of emergency. As you've heard, a lot of these people work in live events, which was drastically hit and changed by the pandemic. So we're going to dive into that first and foremost. What kind of changes did you guys... No, actually, we'll start with, what was it like returning back to work, back to routine after being shut down for about 2 years?
I can jump straight in because
Carnival was gone. We missed the Rampage stage.
Obviously for Notting Hill Carnival, we didn't do the Notting Hill Carnival for 2 years, which was really hurtful. So we done a couple of online carnivals, which was our way of coping with the pandemic. And then a lot of other people started doing online events during COVID as well. We done proms for Warwick University and things like that. We'd go to a pre-prepared studio, there'd be a whole camera set up, and you're DJing to a Zoom, and you're actually referencing your crowd is the people you see on the Zoom screen. So those are the kind of things that we were doing during lockdown. But as soon as lockdown ended, and the reason why the title State of Emergency is quite apt is because as soon as we tried to go back into nightclubs, what you found was restrictions. All of the residents who lived around a nightclub, they had 2 years of peace and quiet. No one on the road, no loud music, no nothing. So now when you're returning to that nightclub and you're trying to put 2,000 people in there who are all going to turn out at 4:30 in the morning, it's a problem. And I don't know if you know the phrase NIMBY, not in my backyard. What would happen is, as soon as the club has opened, the following week they've already gone to the local council and the police. So by the time you get your flyer out, you're getting a visit, you're getting a phone call, the authorities at the club are saying, I'm not even sure if this club night is going to run. So that was one of the major issues coming out of lockdown. The other one was the fact that a lot of people went out of business. So some of the clubs that you used to play in before lockdown just don't exist anymore. They're actually gone. There's just a vacant plot, or or someone's building flats on them now. So there were quite a few issues that we had coming out of lockdown and trying to readjust, especially because it was a bit of a gold rush. Like I work with a lot of the people on this panel regularly, and I might turn up for a meeting somewhere, and Lloyd's next, because he's got a plan to put on an event somewhere. And so what you found was we had to bring on that night, where are you doing it, how many people have you got? We just had to communicate more, otherwise you're going to end up treading on people's toes and generally losing money. And one of the points I'd like to make that you were talking about is there's a big difference in promotion. If you work for a corporation and you're a promoter, that's one thing, right? Where if there's 5 people in the event, all right, you're going to get in trouble from your boss. If you're an independent promoter like myself or Lloyd Life, and there's 5 people in that event, you're not going to get a ragging from your boss. You won't have anywhere to live. You won't be able to eat for the following. Like we always have a running joke at Carnival. How did Carnival go? I said, it's all right. We're a bit short, so I'm bread and water till Christmas. It's like a running joke for us because it's so expensive. So there's a real safety cushion. If you're going to go into live events and you're working for a corporate, good on you, crack on. Even if you don't like it, stick at it and look for an opportunity. I know many people at the BBC who have been given book jobs. They hate it. But I'm like, stay there and just keep your eyes open. As soon as the opportunity comes, go. You know what I mean? So it's a lot easier to affect your situation from the inside rather than just jumping up, I can't take this and go. So yeah, for us, the first thing coming out of lockdown was the adjustment to lack of clubs, the fact that a lot of people didn't want us to return, and a lot of people didn't survive. A lot of guys who I used to work with before just weren't there after, so I had to communicate and reach out to people like Lloyd, Adam, just to say, what are you doing, what have you got? And we're trying to go a bit more corporate now, rather than just doing nightclubs. I'm planning to do something in the South Bank Centre, just because we have to progress the culture and move it forward from where we were pre-lockdown. Yeah,
wicked. To reiterate what Trevor was saying, the same thing. When we came back, as soon as they said, you can open up nightclubs and stuff, people, my phone was just ringing, and for me, it was all a strange feeling because you're talking about mental. All these things that were going on, we had it same way as well because we had to readjust, and luckily for me, I always maintained. About 6-7 years ago that I thought I could see the decline in what was going on with the music, so I made sure I secured myself by getting myself a basic 9 to 5 because first and foremost I always have to look after me and my family first. I love music and I have a passion for it, but if it's not paying the bills, it's a no-go. So when we came back, I remember our first event we did, and people were in the club and it was just strange. Like we had 1,000 people in there, and so I didn't get your name again, sorry. Cara, listen, what Cara says is like, my thing is when you stand on that stage and you see 1,000 people smiling, and no matter what happens from Monday to Friday, you made those people forget all their worries, all their stress, all their problems. And when lockdown, the first event we did outside of lockdown, the excitement, the buzz, it was like New Year's Eve. It was probably one of the best parties that we've ever done. Like, I'm telling you, since I've been here for 32 years now, and that was probably one of the best, because the moments, the hugs, the kisses, or the people trying to shy away, it was loads of things going on. It's just weird. It's just weird. The whole lockdown thing for us as promoters, it made us all reevaluate that communication, because a lot of people, what happens is that everybody sees that you put these events on and they think it's a cash cow. Just because I have 1,000 people in a 1,000 capacity venue doesn't mean I've made thousands and thousands of pounds. Sometimes it's a loss leader. Sometimes I'm doing something just to make it look good so we can go to the next level, which you won't see. Yeah. So loads of people come in there, they say, you made shitloads of money. All right, fair enough. But I'm never going to tell people my business, because my business is my business. Do you understand? So there's loads of fractions that goes on behind the music. What looks glossy on the TV or whatever, or when you go to a show, it's not as glossy what you think it is.
Anyone else want to jump on that?
Yeah, just to echo what sort of everyone else has said, within the touring scene, we have festivals booked next year. We had them booked, you know, almost a year in advance. So things that got cancelled, when they eventually got rescheduled, it's things like finding a team, because people had to get 9 to 5s, and there literally was not enough operators, whether it's lighting to sound to pyro. We were literally struggling to find people, and then it's one struggling to find people, but it's a team as well. And we're so used to a certain team, and
Standards.
us with the artists as well being like, where's so and so gone? And they really like to know the team they're working with, and to introduce newbies, and to have to recreate a set, because lockdown as well, it was great in terms of, it was a break for me, just not having to go anywhere. But for the artists and the creative, they're there, they can have all the time in the world to work on music, but when they weren't able to present it in a live way, it's frustrating for them as well. But what it did do is it gave us lots of time to think about how, when they are able to next perform, how they want to do it. So it did give us enough time to plan properly, even though it's never enough time to plan properly, because things always come, they spring up. And even when we did go back, things like, you know, safety procedures, like the band having to wear masks, BDs having to wear masks, and taking it down just to perform it back on. I mean, I know it's like normal after COVID, but it was just very different.
Just to pick up on that, this is like what I mentioned earlier, the fact that during COVID people either just left the industry entirely or had to get 9 to 5s, and the lack of talent. This is, sometimes I tutor, and when I tutor, one of the modules I teach is diversification. So it doesn't matter what course I'm teaching, record production, radio production, podcasting, whatever, one module will always be diversification. And for me, that's the most important module, because that's the module that's going to allow you to survive, right? So as well as being a club promoter and a record producer and a remixer, I do the radio. So I was lucky enough that I was on One Extra during the lockdown, so that managed to pay my bills. Otherwise, I might not have been here. So one of the things I always stress, it's vital, is if you are offered that job in the mailroom, but it's at Sony or it's at Universal, take it. Just take it, yeah? Sit down, do the mail, and whilst you're doing the mail, plan. Research, network, reach out, go up to the 5th floor. What are you doing there? Go to the 3rd floor. What are you doing there? Make some phone calls. Do it all. Someone says, do you want to host this? Yes. Do you want to DJ? Yes. Do you want to? Yes. Even if you can't. I know loads of people who do that. They say yes, and then they call me. How do I do? Blah, 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 blah. Just because they're trying to survive and stay in the industry. So just to pick up on what you were saying about the lack of talent, if you want to stay and survive, diversify. So you rap, you sing, you produce, you DJ, you write, you blog, you're an influencer. Do it all, and then one will become successful.
Don't be afraid of no.
Don't be afraid of no, because my original plan, I wanted to have a #1 record. I still haven't got it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm still trying. And doing the radio, being on One Extra, BBC London, doing Carnival, that was all like, oh, I didn't realise I was going to end up doing that, but it came and I done it. But I'm still going, because I still plan on having a #1 record at some point in time. But yeah, on my point would always be diversify, so that if something like lockdown happens, you can survive and be there afterwards to try and profit from what is left.
Yeah, I want to jump on the back of diversifying your career. Like, we're in an era of the multi-hyphenate, that there are so many people that do multiple things. Cara, you working in the industry, but also DJ presenter. Could you speak a bit about your experience on having a real job, I guess, and then also pursuing creative endeavors?
It's really hard. I won't lie to you. I think it's really intense, because a lot of my a lot of being a promoter is going to shows and being out and networking and being everywhere and being seen and being liked. It's a big part of it. It's being personable. So constantly being I guess being at a show 5 days a week, and then knowing that you've got to do your radio show, pre-record it by Sunday to send it off for Monday, knowing that you also have to juggle family and friends and just everything that life has to offer, is really, really difficult. And I would definitely say that if it wasn't for the people within the industry that kind of understand you know, what my job entails and what the music industry as a whole entails, like, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Like, support systems and a community is really, really important. Like, I know that I work for a corporate, but my background doesn't really necessarily come from there. So I've had a long time of building the community and people to kind of, you know, lean on and get assistance with. There's so many people, like, you know, my friend Jess and Scully, people like that I assist, that I lean on when I just genuinely don't have the strength to do both. And they always push me. And again, like, I don't want it to sound like it's easy to do it and I'm having a great time and it's awesome all the time. I struggle a lot. It's really not easy to do both. Yeah.
I don't talk about this very often because imposter syndrome is real. But so I've been in this job for like almost 3 months, but and I'm in my mid-30s, and this is my first ever full-time job. Before that, I think probably like lots of you, I came into music because it was something I loved, and making and performing music was what I thought was the way to engage with that and to be part of that. And then from doing that and from saying yes to lots of other things, I started putting on gigs. I started running projects like this one, working with people aged 16 to 25 to support, to be creative, and lots of other projects too. And I think, like, how many of you are here because you're an artist? Okay, a couple of you. How many are you here because you're interested in A&R? Okay, and hands up if you're here because you're interested in like putting on live music. Cool, so a bit of a mix. And so I think it's like leaning into those things that you're interested in, and you can focus on that. But then, like as T's saying, being open to other ways of connecting with music and the kind of music that you're interested in. They're not always separate, and they start to bleed into each other. So for me, being in bands and putting on shows made those two things better, and then working with what was young people at the time, that made the other types of work that I was doing better, and it connected me to people that I wouldn't have otherwise. And slowly but surely, getting better at doing all of those things and working hard at all of those things is how I was able to progress. So I think, yeah, being really, really open and having a portfolio career is a good thing, but just lean into what feels natural to you, and I think you progress that way.
That's great. I would like that point. In terms of the businesses that you guys work with or the businesses you've created, what are some of the changes that you had to make or are going to implement in order to, I guess, COVID-proof or pandemic-proof your business? So if something does happen again, how are you going to make sure that you stay afloat?
Well, for us as a company, we've basically looked at all the aspects in terms of putting on events. So where we've built our platform, we built our website. I mean, we know that we have to engage more with our audiences, whether it's like looking at live streaming platform events, because they went down really well in lockdown, but we didn't get involved in them because for us, we thought at that point everybody was doing it. It was great watching people enjoying themselves, but if it does happen again, heaven forbid it doesn't happen again, you know, we've basically seen how we can set it up in a way where people would want to pay, and we've got systems in place where we will put that party in your front room. So we're looking at different avenues to generate, and obviously things like merchandising, because this is what you probably get with Janelle, with your artists and stuff. Like, whilst you're sitting down and the show's finished, people are clicking on buttons and buying Stormzy t-shirts or Dave's t-shirts or whatever it is, Facebook mugs or whatever it is. So this is called the creative industry as well. When we was doing this, we were just doing what we was doing back in the day. And then these people came in and they said, these are the new hipsters, they're the creative, you know, we created all this stuff 30 years ago. I'm not afraid to say it. We made this shit. We made this shit. And I had a very interesting conversation with Janelle, and we have a connection with family members from her that brought her into the industry and stuff, and she was engaged by those people because we were the innovators, we were the ones that were knocking off. If I told you stories about us kicking off doors and evading police and putting on parties because they wouldn't allow us to play music in the West End, so we said we'll do it for ourselves, and then we were doing big parties, and guess what, we were making so much money. West End wanted us, they needed us until they didn't need us no more. They kicked us out, but they kept our music.
Yeah, this is very true. Rampage were the first weekly club night in the West End, and we went for about 4.5 years. And during that time, the rest of the West End kind of picked up on it. People like China Whites, Brown, so on and so forth, and started employing urban music DJs. And then our club night finished, and the kind of real West End clubbing that had started, so we're talking about Cameos, Samantha's, SW1, Hello the Grand, all of those clubs went, and it became the kind of China Whites, Browns, table service, Prince William's going, so I'm going type of thing. And that literally is what happened in the West End. So we had to go back and kind of start again, try and find clubs in the regions, provinces, out of London even. I remember a lot of people used to go to Rochester, Amadeus in Rochester, there's another club in Surbiton. So the culture actually started looking for other places to put the events in. One of the things I would say to Lloyd though, and I think is quite important, is even though we kind of started it, yes, let's not be bitter. I try and welcome everyone who's new to the game and give them pointers and bring them in.
I love it. No, I'm not bitter. That's not what I was saying. So what I'm saying is that when I look at the young people now, and I like TikTok and Facebook and all these things there that you do to what's the name, I'm employing people to go and bring that culture to what I'm doing, because if you're gonna be a dinosaur and think it's about giving out flyers on the streets, it's not gonna. You have to evolve. You have to move with the times. So that's not what I was saying. I was just talking about, you're talking about what do you need to do to evolve. You always have to be thinking out the box. What is gonna make it make sense? I'm always thinking outside the box. I was already ready for pandemic before pandemic came, because I'm always thinking out the box. Because as soon as I do something, yeah, or Janelle or anyone that's a tastemaker does something, trust me, if you've got over 1,000 TikTok or whatever followers and that, yeah, they're following you for a reason, because they want to see what you're doing and they're going to try and get involved. So you have to have a few cheeky ones for yourself. Okay, you caught up with me, all right, try this. Come ahead of the game. You always have to be ahead of the game.
I love that. I thought you two were about to get into it for a second. I was like, do I need to break up a fight here? But I love it. It's good love, good energy. We saw a rise in people coming out this summer. So Live Nation, they said that they had over 44 million people attending their events this summer, which is great considering post-lockdown. Why do you think that is? Do you think people are now ready to get back into it, or like society has just prepared themselves for like set things in place like COVID health and safety things, or is it just the nature of people?
I think that people's going out habits have changed. So even though Live Nation, said that they had record revenue streams and they made all this money, it doesn't really tend to trickle down throughout the industry. It doesn't really touch venues. Like as you said, venues had to close. Certain promoters couldn't even come back into the industry because the venues were so concerned with the fact that they lost so much money that they were now being even more picky and choosy with what kind of events that they had to come into their venues. So if you are even someone that's just been in the industry for a while, you're starting out and you want to start a club night and you've got a following, it's even more hard for you to get into certain spaces. Like I'm fine to say that I will email venues and get avails for certain artists, and I'll get a reply instantly. And then I'll have one of my friends who's an independent promoter say, oh, I've emailed that venue 2 weeks ago and they haven't even sent anything back. I've even followed up. I'll email them straight after asking for those same avals and they'll come back instantly, because venues are so much more picky because they're like, okay, we need to make money because they lost so much. And sadly, I think a lot of Black and POC nights struggle and kind of receive the brunt end of that. So even with Live Nation saying that they've made all this money, I think it's my original point was that people's going out habits have changed. So even I was at a concert the other day and someone was like, oh, I haven't been in the room this small for so long. I just go to O2 like once every now and again to see a big act, and then that's it. You even hear people say, oh, I only go to the cinema maybe like once every 6 months when Marvel have a movie out. So all the big corporations, I know I basically work for one, so I'm a bit, but I can also see both sides, is that they'll continuously make money, but for the smaller independent people, it doesn't trickle down.
I think what I'm noticing is, the habits are either that, so it needs to be a really special. So when you're putting on a gig, putting on a party, putting something on, it needs to be that sort of special moment for someone. It's an opportunity for them to celebrate their birthday. It's kind of that sort of opportunity of a community and a culture. So Recess is a really good example. All of those sort of brunches and those day parties are working really well because it's about being, I think, even just going is about being part of something and part of a community. So that's why things like this are so important, because it gives you an opportunity to connect to each other and think, what is it like if we're building things together and networking with our peers, not just reaching to a big West End club or a South Bank Centre or a big venue. It's what can we do kind of together to make stuff happen.
To pick up on that, what I found was during the lockdown, people's raving habits changed. So during lockdown, everyone got used to staying indoors and not going out at all. And towards the end of lockdown, the rise of the brunch happened, the rise of the daytime event. And I mean, the most extraordinary nightclubs, Ministry, E1 in East London or whatever, I mean, like 3,000 capacity venues are doing day raves, brunches that finish at like 8 o'clock. And the entire culture got used to that. They used to get going out at 1 in the afternoon and being in by 8. I can get to work tomorrow. I don't even have to worry about the kids. I can sleep with the next door neighbour. It became part of the culture. And this is the first winter we're actually having that is truly unlocked. And the problem we're having is now convincing people to come out at 2 in the morning. Because they're now used to coming out at 2 in the afternoon. And that is a bit of an adjustment that we didn't even realise at first. Because you talk to someone about you've got an event on, and they're like, what time does it start?
Daytime party.
Daytime.
We're not going daytime.
No, it starts at 10 o'clock. What? You're not coming? Yeah, I've got kids. I've got kids to feed.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing happened, where we really got to work hard to convince people nighttime is raving time again. We're allowed to go out at nighttime. So like the youngest demographic are kind of cool with it, because if you were 18, if it was your 18th birthday during lockdown, you've never been legally allowed to go raving. So for the younger demographic, the question isn't, are we going raving on Saturdays? Where are we going? Because I didn't rave at all when I was 18. But for the slightly older demographic or got used to the daytime party, I get a lot of people like, is it a brunch? I'm coming if it's a brunch. I don't mind some Prosecco. But no, I'm not staying out till 3 in the morning. So we've really had to try and cater for both markets. A lot of the time when we do our lives, or if we're promoting something, we'll do a lot of the promotion during the day, because we know that's when people are used to kind of receiving it. Or you start a little bit earlier, and I've done quite a few shabba parties with Pharaoh and his team, where in Prince of Wales, we'll start at like 6 in the evening, so that people can still get that kind of daytime feel. And that's one of the kind of adjustments we've made post-lockdown to try and stay in the marketplace.
Yeah, just sort of what these are saying, with the artists I work with, a lot of their target audience is young people. So there were people who pre-COVID, they couldn't get into a venue. Post-COVID, they can. So they're going out now. They want to see all these things. And when I look at like the audience of who is actually coming out, it's literally getting younger and younger and younger. Even all the festivals I did over summer, I was shocked to see some of how young some of these people were.
Yeah, I mean, back to what Cara said about, was an interesting fact about in terms of the little guy getting club nights or getting accepted. So as I said, I feel like I've done my tour of duty, and I've proven what I can do. I can put bums on seats. I said to Kadeem earlier on, doesn't matter, we're going to work next year, don't worry about me. Whatever I say I can do, or I die trying, 100%. And So I'm doing a party this boxing. Well, I had an event on, and the venue lost its license, and I had to find another venue. And we're very limited in terms of the super clubs where we can put over 1,000 people, because that's the level we're at now. Where we need numbers. No point in me doing something for 500 because I'll have 2,000. I'll just end up with people on the street, and it will just ruin my brand. So we have to be selective. So we found a venue, and it's Fabric. I've got Fabric, and I've been in Fabric for three occasions, and I've made them a hell of a lot of money in those 3 occasions. But due to the fact of pandemic and their due diligence, and they talk in funny languages and that, and I'm a kind of straight up no chaser sort of guy. When I'm talking to them, I'm saying, listen, black crowd, older crowd, no trouble. So I'm telling you what it is. Don't mix it up. Whatever I'm telling you it's going to be, that's exactly what it's going to be. So I know what you want and I know what you don't want. Yeah, we're not going to draw the race card or anything. I'm telling you what it is. So we're going back and forth. Now, we have 3 months coming up to Christmas, and if you know about promotion, every single day you lose to promote, you're in trouble. Because what will happen is, if I've got a party on Boxing Day, I need a 3-month lead up to make sure I'm going to put the numbers. We're talking about 2,000 people. If I lose a week and a week later comes in, someone says they're going to do a party at another super club and they start promoting, then those people start buying tickets for that. By the time I come out, I've lost those people. So these are the pitfalls that we had. So we had to go around. I had to go around. They think there's a word they use called due diligence. So that means they do a background check on someone that they've already done a background check on, to see if I'm still a viable commodity for their environment. So we got the venue and we're working. But these are the pitfalls and that we have to go through. But you have to just keep your head grounded and don't get upset. Don't take it personal. It's business. So you have to understand. But you have to maybe at some point put your foot down and say, listen, you either want us or you don't. And that's what we did. We turned around and said, you either want us or you don't, because you're running risk for us now, because the monies that they want us to make for them are astronomical. The monies they want us to pay them are astronomical. Now, I don't want to go and put myself and my family at risk just for the love of music, as much as I love music. But these are the things that we go through, so yeah.
I do want to touch on the intersections of the music industry, so race and gender. Do you think, well, historically, there's this, I guess, stereotype that, black artists can't sell or Asian artists aren't very popular, but I see in the last year or so, like, we're dominating the charts. But do you think, from your business standpoint, that the race or the gender of an artist or whoever's running the event really can really affect the success or lack of success?
Yes.
All mics up, look.
Yeah, okay. We've got one moment.
I think what is, like, what, can I just say, you two are like a perfect double act. It's like all day. I think what the risk is really, really key, and how people think about risk can be really challenging. So sometimes that shows up in as a independent promoter, if you're working with a venue that does due diligence, where they're doing a credit check on you to make sure that financially it's not a risk for them, that you can handle the money. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so that's got to happen. But there can often be other types of ideas of risk. So it's interesting, and the part of what you're coming up against by saying it's an older crowd, they're going to have their branding, have a nice dance, and that's probably it, is coming up against the idea that black British music is somehow prone to violence, and the relationship between those things, which we know is not true. I mean, if anyone's ever seen a mosh pit, if you don't know what's going on, that looks scary, right? You're like, wow, look at these people, they are punching each other in the head, but they're having a good time, and that's what works for them and their music. So if I give people the benefit of the doubt, looking at our music, you can maybe not understand what's happening and the culture around it. So part of what we have to do as promoters, whether that's in a venue, in an organisation, or independent, is navigate that and talk about, actually, this is the vibe of what we're trying to do. This is why it's positive. This is what the crowd are like, and talk to venues, talk to places that are hosting it, so that they are creating a safe space for us. But knowing that yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges. You know, for 10 years in London, it was almost impossible to put on certain types of music, and there was legislation that made that happen, that was backed up by the police, by the government, that said it was 696, that made it harder for us to put on stuff in venues. So, yeah.
Speaking of 696, didn't you something at Horniman around that?
Yeah, I did. Before I worked at the South Bank Centre, I worked for the Horniman Museum in South East London, and the Horniman has the biggest collection of musical instruments in the country. Long history of music is in South London, and I wanted to connect it to the music on its doorstep, but I thought in order to do that, we needed to acknowledge the relationship between public space and Black live music. So I ran a programme called 696 that celebrated Black British music that had happened during that period.
Tell me, 696.
So 696 was a Metropolitan Police risk assessment form that promoters and venues had to fill out in order to get event licenses. It was particularly controversial because non-compliance with the form, so if you didn't fill it out, or if there was content in the form that was deemed too risky, it could result in your event license being scrapped at the latest of the day of the show. So you might put thousands of pounds into putting a show on. The Met Police decide it seems too risky, you don't get any information about what they think the risks are, and the show can't happen, and so promoters are at a loss.
I want to speak on this because let's not mince words. Yes, the industry is totally racist. It's not. There's no two ways about it. It is. And in our experience, for example, we've got an exemplary record at the Notting Hill Carnival, and usually our gold commander at the end of the day comes with all the officers and says, "Thank you very much. You guys are brilliant." They actually use quite a lot of our carnival footage for training videos for the police officers in the times in between, in the run up to the next carnival. But to this day, we still can't get a letter of commendation. We cannot get a letter of commendation from the head policeman at Carnival to say that Rampage are responsible live event promoters, and that they just don't want to put their name to that piece of paper that is given to the black outfit. And this is something that we suffer from all around the country, all of the time. So I was trying to do an event in Wembley Arena many years ago. It was a Rick Ross event, something like that. And I've rung up and they said, "You've been red flagged." And if you don't know what that means, when you're red flagged in a venue, it means that your name is not acceptable to be on a lineup, and obviously my brand is called Rampage, so we struggle. People just hear it and think, "Oh my god, it's going to be carnage."
I'll book you.
And we can't book you. There was a time during the garage era where if you had crew, CREW, after the name of your outfit, you wouldn't get booked. Soul Solid crew, Heartless crew, Rampage crew, this crew. If you had crew, they're not booking you. So we have to say we're the Rampage sound system. You just have to change simply to avoid a lot of the racist practices that are out there. The 696 form was horrendous because, like Adam said, what would happen is the day before your event, a policeman would turn up and wouldn't speak to you, would speak to the club owner and say, and the wording is something like this: "We can't shut you down, but the next time your license is up for renewal, we'll have to look at it." That's your night.
Or even worse, if something happened, we told you, it's not.
Now your license is gone.
It's gone.
So yeah, from my perspective, the industry is 100% racist. And we work really hard to try and protect that. So I'm actually good friends with a lot of high-powered policemen. There's what's his name, Paul Sutherland at Tottenham. There's the Metronome, our Gold Commander. We regularly have discourse with them, because if you don't, they're just going to say, "Oh, it's those black guys, they're a crew and they cause trouble." And like, I'm 50 years old now. That's not what I do. This is my stock and trade. This is my business. So yeah, if you want to survive, you do have to work really hard to combat the racism within the system and to protect yourself and your brand. I would definitely say.
But I would just I don't disagree with anything you just said, but I don't think it's different than any other section of society in this country. I think that's very important to say. It's not. I don't think. I love the music industry. I don't think it's more racist than any other part of society. And I would also encourage anyone in this room that, like, we can still, and we all are either working together, plan to work together, have worked together, and by coming together, we have done and continue to do amazing things. So there's huge opportunity to, especially for Black music in this country. I just want to make sure that's in the picture too.
Like just off the back of that, like I think we're now seeing that Black music is the mainstream. So you see people like Stormzy and D Block Europe and Dave sell out the O2 Arena. And then I guess on the backside of the industry, you know, you see, I guess, Heady One getting into the top 5, K-Trap with Warm coming into the top 20, like mad drill music going #1. It's crazy. So from the backside of the back end of the industry, I mean, especially from like the live music world, Black music is predominantly selling out arenas and shows, and it's probably, you know, even when it comes to stadiums, exactly. You see Burner, and I know Wiz and Baby's been talking about how he's going to do a stadium soon. So it's like it's getting to the point where Black music is a mainstream. So now the industry is looking to people that have an understanding of the culture and the music to now be a part of an industry that didn't necessarily, or wasn't really inclusive, to the point where, again, a lot of promoters had to be independent because, you know, corporations weren't looking for them or looking to hire them or even, you know, glancing over their CVs. And to say now that, you know, I'm in continuous like meetings and we're talking about the shows that are doing well, and it's, you know, it's an R&B show, it's a rap show, it's, you know, even just a pop show, but it might be like a Black artist or, you know, an Asian artist who is now like, you know, I guess using her culture as like, you know, a representational purpose. So I think there's definitely space that the industry has now grown, and there's
I look after Storms, I look after Dave, look after Thames. I've done pretty much I've done Heady One, Miss, My Stack, Tion, I've done a bunch of all these people who are really, really far in their careers within the UK music scene. And what I will say is that we know the point that we've got to, and we also know where we want to get to. We don't want to be something that in 10 years people say, oh yeah, do you remember so-and-so? We want them to still be relevant. And for us, when we do like everything down to like organisation and production of a tour, of a show, of even if it's just a pop-up appearance they're doing, we look at, you know, Dave or Storms as a brand as a whole, and we look at them how we're going to elevate them to the next level. You know, things like when we did the O2 shows, the time and the planning that went into those shows to make them something that the Daily Mail write about, and something that, you know, you may hear a Dave song and he might be doing a drill grime kind of sound, and then you might hear a song like Black, which performs at Mobo's, and then you might hear a song like Lazarus, which is AfroBeats. But you want to see
at the South Bank Centre, where, you know, it's really, we've got these venues that have royal name. It's the Royal Festival Hall and the Queen Elizabeth Hall, and let's not get into that now. But there is a prestige thing that comes with that, and so it's been, for me, what's been really special, it's been able to use that to honour. So we had this Stormzy show last week, and also we're a South London venue, we're in Lambeth, and so to be able to have those two things happening at the same time, that it feels like South London, but also it feels prestigious, and also it's about honouring that artist, this new album, and all of the legacy that they brought with them, and having Gabrielle sat there as well, and Jazzy B, you know. So I think we're hopefully getting into a place where all of our music, black British music that we are celebrating, and we're honouring it because it's incredible and it's, you know, impacting the whole world.
Yeah, I think with Storms in particular, it's the brand. Like, he's very real to who he is. You know, he gets offers left, right, and centre, and he's particular in the ones he chooses to do because they're statement pieces. Same with Dave. Like, I always say you don't see Dave doing like a Jonathan Ross or an Alan Carr and all that, and that's not because he can't do it, but it's him as a brand, what he does. You'll see him act, but you won't see him do interviews, stuff like that, and it gives a mystery to the music and the sound. You want to hear more. When you hear more, you want to go to the shows. There's, you know, it's a whole
Yeah, I would pick up, I know Storms, Big Mike, quite a good friend, and what I would say about people like Stormzy that I think is important is they kind of recognise where they've come from. So it was 2019, Notting Hill Carnival was coming up. We'd had Stormzy at Carnival about 3 years before. He'd come in his red tracksuit and mashed up the place. We're like, Adidas have called us and said, we hear you're having problems. The artist has called and said, we should sponsor you for Carnival. And Adidas sponsored us for Carnival. I didn't even see Stormzy for like 6 months. I saw him at a Brits after party, surrounded by thousands of people, and I fought them all off just to grab him and say, oi, thanks. And things like that I think are really important, where Stormzy's from Fulton Heath, I live not too far from him, but he recognises that all aspects of the culture are really important, and the ironic thing was he didn't even make it to Carnival, but yet he still got us our sponsorship. And like I said, I didn't see him for about 6 months, and when I saw him I pushed everyone out of the way and just grabbed him, just thanks bro, I haven't even seen you in a year, but thanks man, I really appreciate it. He's like, oh, what are you talking about, course? And then off he went. And things like that for me are vital within the culture, that when someone's well down that road of success, they still realise, oh, I need to pull some of these people with me, I need to bring them with me, otherwise I'll be here by myself. So I'm forever grateful to Stormzy for that, and just anyone in the industry that has that kind of attitude will always have my support.
Okay, I'm just conscious of time, sorry. We have a few minutes left, so if you have any questions, I'll get to them in the next 5 minutes. But before we wrap up, I want to talk about just if you guys have any financial tips. So for anyone that's looking to get into live events or is an emerging artist, what's the best way to pandemic-proof your money? What things do we need to be doing to make sure that you have a sustainable career?
I think if you're early career, there's lots of organisations, places like Small Green Shoots, Wired for Music, the Roundhouse or the Albany. There's loads of places that get funded to support emerging creatives, and I think tapping into that's what I did. That's how I started. I got the support I needed to start putting on gigs and stuff. Tapping into those networks really is key. And then when you get beyond that, there is elements of financial risk where you will need to invest your own money to make things happen, but there's also funding available. I feel really proud that we are in a country that values music and creativity, and that as a country we put our money into it through things like the Arts Council and other funding bodies. So check those out. So start with like the organisations that provide support, and then as you get a little bit more established, tap into some funding to make your own projects happen. That would be my advice.
I think, what you just said is 100%. But when it comes to you're going to try and get into the business or whatever, the networking is like paramount. Like, if you don't get our numbers here today, you're making a big mistake, because you never know when it will happen for you. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Don't be afraid to have those conversations and sit down and talk to people, because I think that's, for me, when I gave up my job, I was office manager, and I said, I can't do this no more, and I went into the West End, and at that time, we'd go out seven nights a week, innit? It was something on every day, Sunday, I could name everything, every day of the week, you could go out and party, and it was a scene and stuff, and I didn't know nobody, and within about 3 months, by line of sight, they saw me every night, they thought I was part of, I didn't know nobody, but that's what you got to just have perseverance and that, because it's either that, go and get yourself a part-time job whilst you're creating your dreams and stuff, but research is the key, and planning. If you don't plan, it's not going to make any sense. That's the most important thing.
I would say to kind of future-proof yourself against any kind of eventuality like COVID or whatever. Networking is super important. I mean, before I got to the panel, I already know Lloyd. I've already had a meeting with Adam, and I know people who work with both of these two. So the industry is actually quite small. So as soon as you meet one person, they're going to be able to link you with someone else. So networking is super vital. But before I even came up here, because I have a studio and I record, I've already taken someone's number and sent them like a SoundCloud link. because it's what I do, innit? It's what I do. So don't be shy. If you see someone you think that they can help you, go and talk to them, and don't be shy of offering your skills. I do this, I do that, I do rare. What is it you do? Oh, okay, cool. Let's exchange numbers. You might not be able to do any work in the next 6 months, but in a year's time, you might be able to. There's people in the audience I've worked with years ago who now they're into management. But when I worked with her, she was a recording artist. So I know she knows everything required of an artist because she's now into artist management. And the industry is quite small like that. So as soon as you start to network, you'll find another person that can help you, and you might also be able to help them. So things like this, you should take everybody's number that's here. And I'm cool to give up my number on WhatsApp. I'm on the phone all the time.
Just as like a live music promoter, I think I would say my advice towards artists is, again, it's like kind of going off the back of what you said. It's like you don't always have to network up. I think Issa Rae said something about networking that with people at the same level as you, because again, it's like, you know, you'll grow and continuously grow together. And I guess my other advice I would give is about the team that you have around you is really, really important. And just kind of reaching out to, you know, promoters, whether they work for a big corporation or they're independent, you know, putting yourself forward for showcases and just small shows, whether it's performing to 5 people in a crowd, but you don't know those 5 people could now go on Spotify and, you know, I mean, you can grow that way. So I would definitely say, you know, your team is really important, whether you feel like you're at the point in your career where you want to get a booking agent, but also knowing the live music side and knowing what a booking agent does and the promoter does, because once you know all those things as well, you'll make sure that you have a good booking agent and a good promoter. So yeah, that's probably my advice.
Guys, I'm really sorry we have run out of time. We now need to get into the Q&A. We don't want to run out of time for the Q&A because it's quite a short time. So we're going to head over to Paolo, who is going to lead the Q&A session. So anyone who wants to come up and ask a question, please feel free. Over to you, Paolo.
Yeah, just step over to this side. He'll give you a mic and you can ask a penny and send it. Yeah, we have someone coming in there. Hello, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Fumilayo.
Hello.
I'm from Amsterdam. So I'm sorry I don't know all of you, but I have a question for the promoters. What kind of parties or events do you promote? What's the song?
Well, I put on primarily I used to be an R&B promoter and stuff, and I always had a passion for house music that as a DJ, and at the time no one would let me in, so I just digressed, as I said, and did the R&B thing for years and did it very well. But I got to the point where I said, you know what, I need to do, now I know what I'm doing as a promoter, that's going to be my way in. And I do soulful house, amapiano, afro house. I found my niche, and I'm sticking with it. And a lot of people, it was a new music genre to a certain degree, so it took a while to build it up, but now we've got it to a status where we are one of the number ones in the UK that's doing it, and we're looking to take it from strength to strength.
Yeah, but our events are predominantly R&B, hip hop, dancehall, AfroBeats, and a little bit of like UK house, UK garage, a little bit of amapiano. But it's, for all of the Rampage events, it's predominantly the core black music genre. So R&B, hip hop, dancehall, Afrobeat, soca, and a little bit of house, a little bit of jungle, and that's what we do.
My background, I think probably most of people will know me for doing like a lot of jazz from the South London scene, but at the South Bank Centre we do everything from Rampage to TBC to Burt Bacharach and Erykah Badu and Stormzy. It's a whole mixture.
Again, yeah, everything. I predominantly do the black music scene in the UK, but really working to expand that and diversify into all genres. With my publishing stuff, I publish all sorts of genres, and I like to introduce people to different sides of stuff so that we can expand and there is more jobs, opportunities, all that kind of stuff. So,
and I guess for me, like the main genres in which like I promote, I mainly do R&B, rap, pop, but I've also done things with like Vivendi Sounds and Native Sound Systems. I'm also like kind of, I guess it's just black music genres, and black music isn't just R&B and rap. It's also house, and it's also, you know, Afro house, but also funky house, anything.
Jazz, gospel,
jazz, gospel, everything. So I think it's just...
See you in a minute, Carl.
But yeah, I just anything involved in black music, essentially.
Thank you. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Nat. I know you know. Just being polite. So I'm Small Shoots and I'm PPL now, got to remember that. I wanted to ask Lloyd from Soul Sessions to sit up so I can see him properly at the back. But also I wanted to ask the ladies about how gender has maybe played a role in your careers as promoters, because it's often seen as quite a macho side of things. And ironically, the host did ask this question, but the guys drowned it out with another answer. So I wanted to come back to you ladies with that. And then I wanted to ask the gentlemen on the panel how, I know we spoke a bit about COVID, but how you guys see the cost of living crisis and people's expendable income affecting your business. I know that there's not very much time, so I'm quite happy for you to just answer them quite quickly, but thank you.
That's cool. Let's start with the women.
So I guess, yeah, gender is a big one in my industry. I think as well because, you know, we're seeing like a growth in women in live music, but also it's very important to notice that it's white women, and I think sometimes they can be the kind of the yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like they're always just like, when people talk about women, they're talking about white women, but you know, I only know of myself and Alex at Metropolis, who are the only other black women promoters that work at bigger corporations, and that's quite sad, and it's quite an isolating experience at times. And you know, I guess I sometimes get a little bit jealous because I go to certain labels and I see, you know, this group of black women that all work together, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had that. And I think sometimes it can affect your it can affect how you maneuver yourself as well, because you know, it's a lot of being a promoter is connecting with people and connecting with agents and things like that. And you know, when they're all males and they've all worked in the industry together for the past 10-15 years, and their kids might play football together, they might go and watch football together, and now you're coming in as this like 26-year-old young black woman that's like, hey, like, do you want to work on stuff with me? Like, I'm really enthusiastic, I'm really hardworking. They might not necessarily be like, okay, well, you're new, well, I'm gonna go with this guy that I've known for like 10 years, he's more established than you, I know him better than you. So it's definitely like a lot of hard work, and it's sometimes very exhausting. But also, you know, I guess it's the way that it is. But I've noticed that in some conversations that I've had is that people are actually making I guess they're trying to change, and they're open to having these conversations. Like, you know, I'm not hearing the word urban when I'm having conversations with people anymore, and people are actually acknowledging that, hey, like, I'm a black woman, and I feel comfortable talking about my experiences as a black woman in the office and with, you know, other people in the industry. So it's like a 50-50 thing. It sometimes can be positive in the sense of, again, like, I am not a majority, so in certain genres I am the audience. I'm not just someone that listens to it, I am the person that you want to connect with, that you want at your shows. So some agents might trust me with certain artists, and you know, it can be a negative on the other things that I've said, but yeah, it's like a 50-50 thing.
For me as a tour manager, it's really interesting because I'll be on tour 2 weeks, whatever it is at a time, and I'm on a last tour, or the European tour I did, I was the only girl with 22 guys on a tour bus. I'm not able to flush a toilet. Like, there's just little things that you kind of just get used to. We did a show in Abu Dhabi, the F1 show with Dave the other day, and you know, it's Abu Dhabi, and guys can wear shorts and just a t-shirt and all this. Meanwhile, I'm there, I wouldn't say covering up, but dressing like normal, but I'm there dying because I can't wear shorts like in 33-degree heat. There are little obstacles that come around it, but then also I feel like sometimes the way in which you can deliver something to a team is just different to the way a guy can do it, just because, you know, you have that. And it's not saying we're better than them or anything like that. It's just we have a different approach, and because of that, we get a different response back. I think you have to have like 360 awareness at all times, because, you know, there's been times where something's happened, like a mosh pit. Me, 5'4" self, what can I do? I literally can't do anything. But you just have to be aware of what to do in those situations, knowing you physically cannot do anything. And even down to like where you are, you know, you'll be somewhere and you're around, it's just you, and you're around loads of guys, but they think you're just someone. They don't actually realize you're there to work. Yeah. So you have to stand your ground. I've been in situations so many times with that, and I literally, not gonna say like names and stuff, but there's artists I will not mess around with, because I'm just like, nah, the way you treated me because of who you thought I was, not me. But yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our panelists. That was great. Okay, they will be around, so make sure to chat to them. Like I said, get their numbers, get their emails, network. Pharaoh G, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yes.